Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we are going to be discussing my top 12 ranked running backs for fantasy football in 2021. Inside of this video, I'll be going over running back 7 through 12. If you guys want to hear me go in depth to running backs 1 through 6 in my rankings for this season, please make sure to check out the video that was on my channel from a couple of days ago to get the full breakdown. In this video, I will name those players, but I'm not going to be talking too much about them. This video is mainly focused on running back 7 through 12. So before I get into the video, I want to ask if that at any point inside this video, you guys end up having fun, you end up enjoying the video, to please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below, because not only is it free, I put out content every single day surrounding around the NFL, mostly fantasy football, but we're getting closer to free agency, so I'm going to be talking about all of that, as well as the NFL draft next month. So if you guys want to stay tuned in, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. I would really appreciate it, and I think you would too, because we're going to have a great time today. So let's get into it, guys. I hope you guys do enjoy. So running back 1, again, if you guys want to hear the full breakdown, watch that video before you watch this one. So running back 1 is Christian McCaffrey. At 2, I have Dalvin Cook. At 3, Alvin Kamara. At number 4 is Derrick Henry. 5 is Saquon Barkley. And at number 6, where I closed out that video, we have Jonathan Taylor. So we begin here with number 7, and that is my main man, 9-inch Nicholas Chubb, running back of the Cleveland Browns. Now, he only ended up playing in 12 games last season, but that did not stop him from finishing as a top 12 running backs in all categories, that being PPR running back and standard running back. 11 in PPR, number 9.5 PPR, as well as being number 9 in standard leagues. Averaging 17.3 PPR points per game, 16.6 half PPR points per game, and 16 standard points per game. He's one of those running backs that might, if you think about it, he might scare you a little bit, right? Because most people play in half PPR or PPR leagues, and Nick Chubb has very limited receiving upside. Now, Nick Chubb's actually a pretty solid receiving back, which we saw in 2019 before Nick Chubb ended up kind of getting screwed over a little bit by Kareem Hunt coming there, obviously taking away a lot of the receptions, but we've been able to see him catch a lot of passes, but he's not going to be getting all that many targets when Kareem Hunt is on the team, which technically hurts him, but it doesn't hurt him as much as you would honestly think, because last season he only had 18 targets, ranking 67th at the running back position for 16 targets, or for 16 receptions, I should say, 58th at the running back position, acquiring 150 receiving yards on all of those, 45th at running back. So obviously the receiving numbers don't help Nick Chubb all that much, but he's still a solid running back due to his presence in rushing the ball. This man had 190 carries last season, 14th most at the running back position, 1,065 rushing yards, 7th at the running back position, as well as having a grand total of 12 touchdowns, number 4 at the running back position. This is because this is one of the highest offenses in rushing plays per game, having 30.9 run plays per game, 4th in the NFL. They are a team that really likes to establish the run, and the fact that the guy only played in 12 games and finished as high as he did makes me feel like in 2021, if this guy is able to put up just 15 games, he honestly has top 5 potential in fantasy football. The Cleveland Browns team is no longer the Browns of the past. I said that going into last year, that Chubb is going to be legit with Kevin Stefanski, the head coach. He loves to run the ball. The Browns are going to turn a new page and actually be good for once, and they were. They made the playoffs, and this year they're going to be looking to make the playoffs again with a tandem backfield of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Now, obviously, Kareem Hunt is going to steal some value away from Nick Chubb, but at the end of the day, I am still very confident in Nick Chubb to be able to put in a whole lot of work in this offense due to the fact that, like I said, they give so many rushing opportunities per game, and I think that Nick Chubb is going to eat yet again in 2021, especially if they up that defense and the defense stays healthy, because their defense last year, going into the season, actually looked very good on paper, but they suffered multiple injuries. They're missing Myles Garrett. They're missing all these guys like the same time, and the defense is playing like dog shit where Nick Chubb's not able to get in as much, but there are going to be games where they're going to be able to get up in these games and be able to run a whole lot in the second half of the game, and I think that's really going to help out Nick Chubb's fantasy production in 2021. Again, guys, if you feel different to me, maybe you're like, Nick Chubb's fucking terrible, top He's not even a top 10 running back. Let me know down below. I'd like to see your guys' rankings at the running back position because I love to answer down below in the comment section. At number 8, we have a guy who I honestly kept flopping between him and Nick Chubb, and that's running back Ezekiel Elliott of the Dallas Cowboys. Now, this guy has what just has to be described as a rocky road season, as at the beginning, he was pretty solid when Dak Prescott was healthy, but this is no longer the offensive line of Dallas's past. If you guys remember back in the day with DeMarco Murray, with all these other guys, they're running the ball so effectively because the offensive line is a fucking brick wall, okay? And now it's just not as much of that. And with Dak injured, that really hurt Ezekiel Elliott's worth in fantasy football because they were having to pass the ball a lot more in those scenarios. Even though they're passing the ball a lot with Dak there because their defense is dog shit. He still finished as running back 9, though, despite all this in PPR. Running back 11 in half PPR and running back number 11 in standard leagues, averaging 14.9 PPR points per game, 13.2 half PPR points per game, and 11.4 standard points per game. Now, to rank him this high, I kind of had to take everything out of last season and just throw it away. I had to put my brain into Ezekiel Elliott with a new year with Dak Prescott. They have so many offensive weapons on this team that is kind of worrisome, but Nick Chubb is still the bell cow running back in this system in Dallas. Even under Mike McCarthy, they're not going to try to really heavily involve Tony Pollard. While Tony Pollard out of Memphis is a very talented running back, I just don't necessarily think that there's ever going to be a reason why Zeke isn't getting 7 zillion carries every single game. The change in Zeke's numbers with and without Dak are so insane that I'm going to have to read them to you guys. In the 5 games with Dak Prescott versus the 10 without, he pretty much doubled. Actually, he did double in every category. In half PPR, PPR, and standard, his points per game. In half PPR, he averaged 20.74 points per game versus 10.4 without Dak. With Dak, 23.14 PPR points per game, 11.8 without Dak, 18.34 standard points per game, 9 without Dak. It's insane how much worse he did without Dak Prescott, and it's very crazy because Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, they didn't really take a humongous dive off of a cliff without Dak. They really didn't, but for Zeke, it was just a completely different story. Zeke was seeing 4.8 receptions per game. He only saw 2.8 without Dak. His touchdowns in the receiving category went up with Dak. His targets were up with Dak. His receiving yards doubled almost with Dak. 34.6 with Dak, 16.5 per game without. His rushing attempts increased with Dak Prescott, 17.8 with Dak versus 15.5 without. His touchdown per game was 1 in the 5 games he played. He scored 5 fucking touchdowns in those first 5 games. Did not score many without Dak. Only scored 2 in those games, so that's 0.1 touchdown per game. And his rushing yards went down significantly, 72.8 with Dak versus 61.5 without. Ezekiel Elliott's 2020 season needs to be put in perspective. Now, I understand averaging 23.14 PPR points per game is going to be hard and probably won't happen in 2021. But without understanding just how different it was with Dak versus without, you're doing yourself a disservice when trying to analyze how you feel about their production in 2021. I think the Cowboys are going to be a good team, and I hope that they end up drafting defense and bringing defensive players in correctly, because that defense is what will also screw Zeke's pooch. If the defense sucks cock and they're not able to run the ball late in these games, then Zeke is going to struggle much more than if the Cowboys defense actually does something and they're not going to be down clawing back into games where Zeke is not as effective. Now, Zeke's a guy who can catch the ball, so it doesn't necessarily completely dismantle his value, but if they end up bringing in a good defense, that will definitely help out Zeke big time. At number 9, we have Mr. Aaron Jones, running back of probably not the Green Bay Packers. Now, obviously, they elected not to franchise tag Aaron Jones, which probably means that it's A.J. Dillon's season in Green Bay. But it doesn't necessarily rule out that they can't pay Aaron Jones, but in my head, shout out to Jason Derulo, I don't think he is going to be the Green Bay Packers running back in 2021. But it's hard to rank him because we don't know where he's going to play. For instance, if he goes to the Dolphins, I like him a lot. But what happens if he goes to the Jets? What happens if he ends up in a less favorable situation? So for right now, I got him at 9. His upside is top 5, but he may fall down more in my rankings when I update these in a couple of months when, he's on an actual fucking team, and I will be breaking down that news when it comes where Aaron Jones signs, and I'll be talking about it so you guys can get my instant reactions on my channel. I always post when big breaking news happens, so make sure you guys subscribe for that if you haven't subscribed already for the fantasy content. So at number 9, like I said, is Aaron Jones. In the 14 games he played in 2020, he finished as running back 5 in all categories, PPR, half PPR, as well as in standard leagues, averaging 18.5 PPR points per game, 16.8 half PPR points per game, and 15.1 standard points per game. Now, I saw a lot of naysayers about Aaron Jones last year, talking about how if his touchdowns go down, this guy is going to plummet off the face of the earth in fantasy value. And what I told them was if you detract a bunch of his touchdowns, and he only scores like 5 touchdowns, he's still a top 15 running back. If he only scores like 7 touchdowns, he was still top 12 in 2019. So people needed to kind of take that disrespect of Aaron Jones out of their mouth, and people still continue to kind of tank his value. But he played good again. Right now, he's only at running back 9 because we don't know where he's going to play. If not, he's probably going to be a little bit higher for me. I really am a big fan of Aaron Jones' skill set, both very good in the receiving game as well as in the rushing game. He is a complete running back, and he is going to get paid like that to whatever team ends up signing him. Aaron Jones got top 10 carries last season in Green Bay for 201 carries last season, rushing for 1,104 rushing yards, 4th highest at the running back position with 46 receptions, 12th highest at the running back position on 62 carries for a grand total of 11 touchdowns, 7th highest at the running back position. They aren't even a team that is top 10 in run plays per game. They were number 12 with 27.7 run plays per game, and the guy still very much performed up to my expectation. And the only real reason, like I said before, why it's hard to rank this guy is because we have no idea where he's going to end up playing. I'd like to know what you guys think about Aaron Jones down below. Do you guys think Aaron Jones is going to still be good if he ends up on a team like the Jets, or do you think he's going to need to land in the right spot for him to really play as a top 12 running back in fantasy football in 2021? Because we've seen running backs on absolute dog shit teams be very good. But we've seen only Aaron Jones on good teams thus far, because the Packers have been good every single year this guy has been in the league. At number 10, we have my main man, just kidding, J.K. Dobbins, running back of the Baltimore Ravens. J.K. Dobbins played in 15 games last season, but technically, he only, according to fantasy data, started in just 1 game, but he finished as running back 24 in PPR, 21.5 PPR, and running back 17 in standard. So in reality, he didn't necessarily live up to expectation because he was stuck in a running back hellhole. Gus Edwards, Mark Ingram, and J.K. Dobbins. Once they decided to healthy scratch Mr. Big Trust, Mark Ingram, things started to get good for J.K. Dobbins. He did end up averaging on the season 11.2 PPR points per game, 10.6 half PPR points per game, and 10 standard points per game. But what I want to mainly focus on is the last 4 games of the season in which he was really the starter, and he was getting a whole lot of opportunity in this offense. The Baltimore Ravens are one of the most run-heavy offenses in the NFL. Sure, that number is skewed by the fact that Lamar's going to run 7,000 times a game, but that also helps out J.K. Dobbins. When you have a quarterback that is going to be able to run these read options, run all these RPOs, all these weird different plays that a guy like Aaron fucking Rodgers is not going to be able to run, it's going to help out J.K. Dobbins. In those 4 games versus the 11 games, his final 4 games versus his first 11 games, you can see a big difference in every category. Half PPR, he's averaging 17.4 half PPR points per game down the stretch versus 8.17. Down the stretch, 17.52 PPR points per game versus 8.95 in the first 11 games. In the final 4 games, 17.27 standard points per game versus 7.4 in the first 11 games. This is because of an increase in rushing attempts. 12.75 versus 7.55 per game early on in the season. He's scoring a touchdown every game in those final 4 games, 1.25 touchdowns per game, as well as averaging 88.5 rushing yards per game versus 41 earlier on in the season. His targets actually went down, though, which I found to be very interesting, averaging only 0.5 targets per game versus 2 earlier on in the season. I do think J.K. Dobbins is a tremendous receiving back, and I think that part of his game is going to get even more elevated in 2021 as they give him more work in this Ravens backfield. I still think they are going to be using Gus Edwards, so it's not going to be a complete running back workhorse situation, right? Where you're talking about Saquon Barkley, guy's a fucking workhorse. Everyone ahead of him are workhorses, but it won't matter when you have a team that runs the ball so much, and this guy is the lead back on the team. I think Gus Edwards also has fantasy football value. As if J.K. Dobbins was to go down, knock on wood, obviously, we hope that doesn't happen, that guy is going to be tremendous, but I do think J.K. Dobbins really does have the potential to finish as a top 10 guy in 2021, and I obviously will rank him there. At number 11, we have my boy, the guy I talked about a couple videos ago, as a bounce back player, I should say, Austin Ekeler, running back of the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, I was head fucking conductor of the Austin Ekeler hype train. I was on both knees sucking this guy off like my name was Riley Reid in these videos. I was giving him the Gawk Gawk 9000, and he did not live up to those expectations in his 10 games played, which obviously why he wasn't so good. Running back 26 in PPR, 29.5 PPR, and running back 35 in standard, with 16.5 PPR points per game, 13.8 half PPR points per game, and 11.1 standard points per game. Now, what you have to understand about Austin Ekeler and this Los Angeles Chargers backfield, as long as they don't fuck around and bring in Aaron Jones or bring in Chris Carson, Austin Ekeler is going to get a dominant amount of receiving work, which is where all of his value comes from. The guy only ran for 530 rushing yards last year, 35th at running back. But it doesn't matter, because if he just runs for 700 yards, say, in 16 games, runs for 900 yards, something like that, he's going to get a shit ton of receptions every single game. 54 catches last year, 5th highest at running back. In just 10 games, 5th highest receptions. 65 targets, 8th highest at running back. For 403 receiving yards, 5th at running back. Just imagine how good he will be if he plays every game. Or if instead of missing 10 games, or instead of only playing 10 games, he plays like 13 or 14. You are going to be very happy with Austin Ekeler in 2021. If you believe in Herbert, if you believe in the Chargers coming back around after Anthony Lynn is gone, the bad guy is gone. Anthony Lynn had no idea what the fuck to do. Genuinely, in these games, he's punting when they shouldn't be punting. He's not throwing in these certain situations. He's running in bad situations. They're on the 1 yard line. They call a fucking QB dive, which is like a QB rush or whatever you want to call it, QB sneak, and the offensive line goes into pass protection. Have you ever seen such idiocracy by a head coach? The guy was a fucking fraud. I don't even care who the new coach is. As long as the motherfucker doesn't put his right foot on his left shoe, I'm sure he's smarter than Anthony Lynn. Now, I'm not saying Anthony Lynn is an idiot of a guy, because he genuinely seems very nice. Based on all the interviews I've seen of him, especially on Hard Knocks, seems like a really nice guy. But what he's not nice at is being a head coach of a fucking football team with the best young quarterback in the NFL. So Austin Ekeler is going to get a huge boost now in this system, and if he's able to stay healthy, as long as they don't bring in Chris Carson, they don't bring in Kenyon Drake, they don't bring in someone else, Ekeler will eat. Now, if they bring in someone else, I'm still going to be in on Ekeler, but not as a top 12 running back, obviously, because in that scenario, he's not going to be getting as many rushing opportunities as he will get in this offense. I understand people are going to talk about, oh, Justin Jackson's behind him, Joshua Kelly's behind him, all that. But when Ekeler was healthy, none of those guys fucking mattered at all. They only showed up when he was hurt. So, my final running back of the video is going to be probably controversial, because I'm not sure most people have this guy in their top 12, and he is on a dog shit team, but that is DAndre Swift, running back of the Detroit Lions. He only played in 14 games last season, but he wasn't necessarily even given the whole workload all season. They're juggling in Kerryon Johnson, they're juggling in Adrian Peterson, but now it's going to be the dual-headed backfield because AP is gone. in his technical 14 games, finished as running back 18 in PPR, 18.5 PPR, and running back 20 in standard league, averaging 14.6 PPR points per game, 12.8 half PPR points per game, and 11.1 standard points per game. Now, I understand Matthew Stafford leaving is going to concern people, and it makes sense, and I think that's going to make his value fall because now the Lions have gotten worse. Stafford was putting that team on his back for years. For years, he's the reason why the team's winning these games. But now he's gone, and they bring in Jared Goff. And I've talked about this in a lot of videos. Jared Goff is nowhere near Matthew Stafford. But Jared Goff is also not awful, right? He's not a guy who's going to go out there, and you're going to expect him to play terrible. I think he's going to play all right. And as long as he knows to dump the ball off to DAndre Swift, which he knows how to do, he's dumped the ball off to Todd Gurley for years until last year when they ended up getting rid of Todd Gurley. So I'm pretty confident in DAndre Swift's value in this team, as well as the fact that Kenny Galladay is probably gone. Marvin Jones is probably gone. Definitely gone, in my opinion. So who the fuck are they going to throw the ball to? How is this offense going to run? In my opinion, it will run through DAndre Swift. This man finished as a top 18 running back in PPR, only with 114 carries, 40th most at the running back position, and only having 521 rushing yards, 36th at the running back position. His value comes in the pass-catching game, just like with the guy ahead of him in Austin Ekeler. 46 receptions, 12th most at running back, 57 targets, 13th most at running back, and he had 10 total touchdowns. He had 10 total touchdowns with only 114 carries. It's because his receiving skill set is so good. And it's because they also have gotten rid of Matt Patricia, which is just another case with like Austin Ekeler. How when the incompetence is gone, you can only think of this guy blasting off, going past the moon, past Mars, and directly to Uranus in 2021. I really think DAndre Swift is going to be much better. And while I don't think this offense will be as good, I still think DAndre Swift could be better than what he was last season, especially in his sophomore year after being a rookie in a COVID offseason. Thank you guys all so much for watching this video. If you did end up enjoying, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. I would really appreciate it. I love you all. I hope you guys all have a great rest of your guys' day, and I'll see you beautiful bastards tomorrow with another banger of a video. I love you guys all. Stay safe. Goodbye.